Alright, so for today's video, we're going to talk about how to set up tasks in the Athena AI tool. So just a quick agenda. First off, I'm going to talk about how to create a task. Then we're going to talk about building the task. And then finally, we'll talk about adding the task to your preset and a few configuration items within that preset. Alright, so we're over in Unreal Engine now, so we're going to come into our Athena AI folder. I have one specifically set up for tasks. Do a right click and create a new blueprint class. Go down to all classes and we're going to type in Athena AI. And you'll see that we have two different options here. So one is for an AI task and the other one is for an AI task behavior tree. So I'm not going to cover behavior trees today. So for this one, we're just going to select an Athena AI task. We'll name that Athena AI underscore test, or actually we should name that AT for Athena task underscore test. Oh, I already created that one. I'm just going to throw a 2 on there. So as soon as you get in here, we're going to go up to functions. You'll see there's 3 different options we have here. So we've got on task start, we've got on task terminated, and we've got on task tick. So I'm not going to use on task terminated, but I'll explain what this is for real quick. So essentially, if there's any data that you don't want to be left over from this task for the second time that it's run, you're going to use on task terminated to reset those variables or data objects, whatever it may be. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that. And then we have event on task tick. So on tick, essentially, remember, means that it's going to run at some set interval. So normally tick means every single frame, but with this, if we come over to class defaults up here at the top, we can do a few different things. So we can create a tag for this. I'm not going to create one, but again, for this one, we would do Athena AI task whatever the tag name you want is. Then we would select our source, whatever, and we would add that in here. So again, I don't need to do that, but I'm just going to select a random one. So I'll throw my tag throw grenade in here. So we have it tagged. We can set our priority. We can set if it's interruptible. But what I want to talk about is if we come down to the bottom, we can check enable tick. So this lets us set a tick interval here, and this is in seconds. So essentially what we can do is we can set this to run every 1 second, whatever, that's fine. So then that means that every time we want to update or we pull something off event on task tick, it's going to run every 1 second. So what I care about right now though is the event on task start. So for me, I have, we're just going to run a simple task today. And all that's going to do is, well, nothing. This is like a recreation of my task hold, which is what I have set as my fallback task. So all that this does is it comes in, we have a delay for however many seconds, and then it's completed. So at this point, we need to do, finish task. So essentially what finish task does, this is a very important node to include because this lets Athena AI know that the task is finished. So this does a couple different things. So it calls that previously identified function on task terminated. This also lets the data manager know that it needs to recalculate the score for whatever's going on now. Now, there's also another node that we need to include, and that is abort task. So let's say that I want to take my AI data manager, and again, this is always best practice. We would do is valid. So this is going to be second in our event chain here. We'll connect is valid. Well, if the AI data manager is invalid, then we don't want to do anything. So essentially, we want to just cancel his task immediately. So we abort the task. And that's really all that there is to it. So there's various ways that you can handle tasks. You can create your own logic in here to do really whatever you want. I did want to call out one specific task that I run through, and that is the move to objective task. So there's a few different things going on here. So first and foremost, I like to cast the owning controller to the Athena controller blueprint. So this basically lets us access again all those variables and functions contained within that. Then I promote that to a variable so that we have access to the controller if we need it. And again, you'll see that I have onCast failed. I just abort the task. So this prevents us from doing anything within those first few seconds of the game where, an object may not be initialized and it's trying to do a task. Then moving through here, I take the controlled pawn and so get controlled pawn, I cast that to my parent soldier class. I promote that to a variable, and then I start going into checks. But what I wanted to talk about here was the AI move to. So there's a few different options on what you can do. So you can also take the simple move to actor or simple move to location. So this essentially is just a more efficient call across the nav mesh. I like to use AI move to because it allows a little bit of flexibility in how I'm doing things. This has to do with the architecture of how I've set up my AI commander. So essentially, if I need to, I can program in a vector destination instead of telling them an actual target actor to move towards. Another thing that's nice is you can set an acceptance radius here. So here this is 10 meters. You could also set this as a float so that you get a range of values into it. You've got a lot of options on what you can do here. And then again, another important one is that you've got on success and on fail. So again, on fail, we want to abort the task, and on success, we want to finish the task. All right, so we've covered some basic configuration items. Let's go into the preset. So if we want to add a new task in our preset, you're going to open up whatever you've decided to name that as. Mine is the Athena agent preset. We're going to come down to tasks, click this little plus to add a new element, and then we're going to select our task. So here it's AT test 2 is what I called that, and we'll expand that, come through. Now as you can see, because I set the tags in the blueprint task itself, that it's already carried over into the preset, but you can also set that here if you so desire. So up next, you've got the considerations menu, so we can just pick some considerations here. So if this is a throw a grenade task, we might want to think about our health, we might want to think about distance to target, and how much ammo we have, because if we're out of ammo, then we might want to throw a grenade. Up next, you have the priority option. So this is used when two different tasks have the exact same score. So the one that has the higher priority would be selected. It's a pretty rare occurrence, but it could be, it could happen. Interruptible is whether or not this task can be interrupted by another. So I have some tasks like my AT bayonet charge that I don't want to be interrupted. So I have that box unchecked or set to false. You have a score modifier. So if you want to have a task that is, more likely to happen, you might multiply this by 2 times or 5 times or whatever you may be, however you decide to balance it. Max momentum is the number of times in a row that this task can be selected to be completed. The momentum score reduction, if you read, is how much the percentage of score is reduced every time the momentum is increased. So the more times that this task is performed in a row, this is in a certain preset percentage that the task score will be reduced by. Basically meaning that every time you do it, it's less likely to be selected the next time. Replace resistance is how it's resistance to this task being replaced by another. So it's how much higher the other task's score needs to be than this one in order for this to be replaced. And then enable tick. Again, this is if you want to use the tick node in the task itself, you need to have that checked. And then you can also set your tick interval or whatever you wanted here. As you can see, it carried over that 1.0. Just one final note, you'll notice that we have a fallback task. So there's essentially what this task boils down to is if for some reason you don't have any other scoring or there's some kind of problem with scoring, then this is the task that by default your AI will do. So I set mine to be hold because I don't really want them to do anything else if there's some sort of problem with scoring. So I take that to mean if they're holding, I need to go do some debugging and figure out what's going on. Finally, once you've created this task and filled out all the details as you want, and you've identified these considerations, you want to come up here and select Generate Consideration Curves, as I showed in my previous video. This is going to populate your curve table so that you can go in and adjust those curves for each consideration as you want. All right, well, as always, thanks for watching. That'll do it for this video.